Welcome to our PowerTeacher gradebook setup where we will focus on weights. In this video, we will cover 2 ways to set up your gradebook with the appropriate weights. The first method involves how to apply and copy settings. So we will assign the appropriate categories with the weights. So for example, assessment is worth 65%, classwork and participation is worth 25%, and homework is worth 10%. After that, we will copy the Q1 weights to each quarter, then set up our final grade with the quarterly weight. So each quarter is worth 25%, and then finally we will copy the final grade setup for that section to all the other sections. We are now in our gradebook, and the first thing we need to check is the categories panel towards the bottom left side of our screen. We need to make sure that we have all the required categories, which are assessment, classwork and participation, and homework. Next, we move towards the top of the screen and look under the classes area to make sure that we are looking at the current school year's information. If not, click on the double arrows to get the list of school years and select the appropriate one, which is usually towards the top of the list. Next, move your mouse to the grade setup tab and click on it. Below that, you will see a reporting term. Find and double click on Q1. This will open up the window where we're able to add the categories. So move your mouse towards the bottom and click on the plus for add category. And here we have all the available categories, but we are only going to check the boxes next to assessment, classwork and participation, and homework, which are the only 3 categories that should be used for Newark Public Schools. If you need more information on how to set up your categories, see our video on setting up categories. After you've made those 3 selections, go ahead and click on the OK button. Now we want to apply the appropriate weights to each of the categories. So find the weight column, and the first 0, click on it and type 65 because assessments worth 65% of our grades. Press enter. Type 25 for classwork and participation. Press enter. Then type 10 because homework is worth 10% of the student's grade. Press enter. So now that we have applied the weights to each of the categories, go ahead and move your mouse to the Save button, which is towards the bottom right of this screen. This information is now saved, so I want to copy it to our other quarters. So find the copy button, which is the button towards the top of this window, and click on copy. We want to make sure we're only copying Q1 because that's the one we just set up, and then click OK. Check the boxes next to Q2, Q3, and Q4, and then click Next. We receive a confirmation window that says your categories from Q1 have been copied to Q2, Q3 of this particular section, and then click on the Finish button. So now that we've set up the quarters, we now need to set up the final grade. Double click or just click on F1. We want to make sure that we select the button next to term weights. Find the column that says weight. And for each of the hundreds that are listed here, we want to change those to 25 because each quarter is worth 25% of our student's grade. So go ahead, click on the 100, type 25. And for this one, we have to click on each, type 25, press enter, and then click save. So now we've set up the category weights for each quarter, and we've set up the weights for our final grade. So now we want to copy this information to all of our other sections, so we don't have to do it manually for each section. So find the copy button next to where it says calculate F1 final grade. And we want to make sure we have entire class for this section selected. Click OK. And here we have all of our available courses, and just click the check boxes. For homeroom teachers, you may have homeroom, 21st century skills. Those classes you do not have to check. And once you're finished, click on next. You then receive a confirmation window that tells you that the settings from your current section have been applied to all the selected sections. Now at this point, if you're not sure that you made the correct selections, you still have the opportunity to click cancel. If everything is okay, go ahead and click the finish button. Now let's check one of our other course sections to ensure that the weights have been copied over correctly. So within the classes area, I'll just click on any of the other courses. This will open up the reporting term window. Double click on F1, and I see that term weights are listed with the correct weight as 25 for each quarter. Double click on Q1, or just click on Q1, and category weights are there with assessment, classwork and participation, and homework, each having their respective weight. So there we have it. We've set up our gradebook with the correct weights for each of our categories. The second method involves copying the final grade setup from a prior year to the existing course sections. If you use PowerTeacher prior to this school year, and you are certain that your gradebook was set up with the correct categories and the appropriate weights, then I'll show you how to simply copy that information from your prior year's gradebook setup to the existing school year. So let's take a look at our current school year. We click on one of our sections. Make sure we're still on the grade setup tab. If I click on F1, I see that the weights for each quarter is listed as 100. And if I double click or simply click on Q1 and then click on category weights, none of the categories are added and there's no weight information. So let's move from this window, go up to the classes panel, and we're going to change the year to last school years. The gradebook system is asking, do I want to save this information? Click no. So I am in last year's gradebook. I click on the first section or any section. I'm still on the grade setup tab. If I double click on F1, select term weights, I see that each weight is listed as 25 for the quarters. Click on Q1. It's automatically listed where the category is selected, but if not, click on the category weights radio button, and we see that the categories assessment, classwork and participation, and homework are listed with the appropriate weights. So this information is correct. I'll click on each of the other quarters just to make sure they were copied over correctly. So this section has been set up. So now I want to copy this information to the current school year. So I move my mouse to the menu bar and click on the Tools menu. Scroll to the bottom of the list where you find Copy Final Grade Setup. I want to copy the information from this entire class and click on the OK button. I'm automatically taken to the existing school year or the current school year, where I have all of my course sections listed. At this point, you simply click on the checkbox next to each section. Again, for homeroom teachers, you can ignore the homeroom section, the lunch, or 21st century skills section, because those sections don't carry a grade. Once you've made your selections, click on Next. You obtain a confirmation window that tells you that the information from the course section will be copied to all the below listed sections. If you're certain and you want to go ahead, click on Finish. While the computer waits, after it finishes, we will then go back to our grade book for this current school year and check to see if the information was copied over correctly. So let's click on the double arrows and select the current school year. We have our list of courses. Double click on F1, term weights. Information is correct. Each quarter has a weight of 25. Click on Q1 and I see the category weights are there. All three categories are listed with their appropriate weights. Q2 is correct, Q3 is correct, and Q4. And then you can just go through and do the same for all the other sections that you selected to make sure that the information was copied over to all of your sections. That's the end of our video on how to set up our gradebook with the appropriate category weights for the current school year. In this video, we covered 2 ways to set up your gradebook with the appropriate categories, reflecting 65% for assessments, 25% for classwork and participation, and 10% for homework. The first way we showed you was how to apply the category weights and then copy those settings to all of our course sections. The second way was to copy the final grade setup from a prior year's gradebook to our current school year's gradebook. Going forward, simply use one of the strategies that you are most comfortable using, and we hope you found this tutorial very useful.